let's pick up this mitzvah, and let me just make a statement. No. There are a few problems here, and one is there a mitzvah? And that seems to be in terms of the Ramban and the Rambam, that seems to be pretty clear, even though the Bahag doesn't seem to have it, okay? And we'll see exactly how and why it became a mitzvah. And I think I alluded to the problem, because the pasuk the Rambam quotes, Bakosef Yisou, is the Torah is telling a story about why they gave the agolos of the Nesiim were given to Gershon and Merari and not to Kohos, because the avodah of Kohos is Bakosef Yisou, a tzivui, a mitzvah of Bakosef Yisou is not clear at all in the Torah. Okay. And then there's another issue. The issue is even if you say it's a mitzvah, is it a transient mitzvah like lo yav, which according to the Ram, lo yavod oid is a transient mitzvah rasha, and lo yiro, lo yovo liro is kabbalas hakodesh is also according to the Rambam, it's a transient mitzvah, not according to the Bahag. And maybe Bakosef Yisou is also like that. Maybe it was capped with the Mishkan. We discussed a lot of this last time. Okay, and then so this we're going to see the rayis about this and the proofs that it is a mitzvah, at least according to the Rambam. And then at that point we're pretty much okay. You can question the proofs or not question the proofs. It's interesting, the Ramban, I think, might question the proof that the Ram quotes in the Sefer. On the other hand, he agrees it's a mitzvah. But the final point of that the mitzvah changed from Leviim to Kohanim, that's a very sore point. And that the Rambam is discussing Barichus over here. And he tries to prove it from Sefer, Yehoshua, and Shmuel, he says, which the proofs are not clear, let's say. Okay, we'll have to see. Maybe we'll get to it, whatever. The proofs are not clear. And the Ramban says that the same way the mitzvah was Leviim in Midbar, it's also Leviim L'Deis. The Ramban says, no, it becomes Kohanim. The Ramban basically asks, we have a general klal in Torah that the Torah doesn't change. If you want to change Torah, that's against Yisei the Adas. We have no how the Rambam does that. Okay. And we pointed out, I think Biskovim points out in his letter, I think maybe the Ramban, I don't know if the Ramban does it also. But the reason why the Rambam is doing this and is moving the mitzvah from Levi to Kohen is the Rambam wants to say that the mitzvah avodas Levi is only mitzvah l'shah, and therefore there's no lav of lo yavod oid, and there's no yul kabal lo yavol lios kabbalas hakodesh, and there's a separate mitzvah called Nesias Aron, which is a mitzvah in Kohanim. So nothing, the two trains don't meet. But the Ramban, who learns that the mitzvah of Nesias Aron is a mitzvah of Leviim, l'doros, and equates all of them. So he says the same way that Bakosef Yisou of Aron is a mitzvah l'doros, the lav of lo yavod oid and the lav of lo yavol lios kabbalas hakodesh are also l'doros. Okay. So that's basically where we're standing. Okay. So now let's pick up where we left off just a little bit. Yeah. So let's just see. And just one more thing before we start is the interesting thing is that the Rambam Mishnah Torah, I also mentioned that last week, the Rambam Mishnah Torah doesn't limit the mitzvah of the Haarón to any particular group. It's mashmo that anyone's kosher. It's lav dafka Kohanim, lav dafka Levim. Okay, so let's now go slowly. First point. The Rambam, and here we go, let's go. The Rambam assumes and takes as a postulate that Bakotef Yisol is a commandment, not a story. And again, if you know yourself, and Shorish Ches, anything to the story is not a mitzvah in the minyan. However, if you look at the psukim, it looks like it is a story. And that's the whole yesod of Shorish Hashmini, that stories are not mitzvahs, mitzvahs tzivuyim. Of course, the parsha says, Vayomer, we started, that's where we left off last week. Vayomer Hashem Moshe, Leimo, Tas meitom, v'hoyu la'avoid es avodas al moed, v'nosata isom el alavim, ish kefi avoidosoi, v'yikach Moshe, es ho'agolos, v'es haboko, v'yitein isom el levim. He gave that which was a matana in the siyum, he gave it to the Levim, the boko and the agolos. But then it says, Levinei kohos, loinosan, ki avodas hakodesh aleim, bakotef yisol. And the Torah is giving you a reason why kohos didn't get, because their avodah is not through agolos and boko. Boko and agolos won't help because their avodah is to carry on the shoulders. So when it says bakosev yisol, that's not a commandment. That's a story and a reason why the Bnei Kohos did not get agolos and boko. And I think I mentioned last week that the Rebuchim Perlau asked this kasha. I think, if I'm not mistaken, not only, if I recall, not only does not only the Bahag doesn't count Masa Oren, but the Vasav Sadigain also does, and probably the Rabbi Yochanan Perlau wants to go to be a Meilitz Yoshe for Sadigain, and he asked this kasha in Lavim Loisase Reshid Beis Reshid Gimel Reshid Dal. Say it. So the Rambam's, it's clear that the Rambam's answer to this question is in the Sefer. And let's see. Yeah. You see, let's see at the end. Let's see Sefer at the end, and we'll go back. The Oma Achazeh, we'll see. No? Oh, we start before. Okay. Oma B'divrei Hayomim Vayisu b'nei Halavim es Aroin hu Elokim kashetzivo Moshe kedvar Hashem b'kseifom b'moitos aleihem. So this passing in Divrei Yomim is okay. Our Oma B'divrei Yomim Vayisu b'nei Halavim es Aroin hu Elokim kashetzivo Moshe kedvar Hashem b'kseifom b'motos aleihem. So it says that there's a tzivui b'dvar Hashem that they have to carry it b'kseifom b'motos. So that's good. And it's very strange. You don't see that in the Torah, but Divrei Yomim says that it's Kashet Tziva Hashem es Moshe. So it must be the Pshat and the Posik that you have to do b'kseif, b'kotef. Kedvar Hashem. Kashet Tzivo Moshe b'dvar Hashem. So it means that Kedvar Hashem. So that's Torah, b'kseifom, b'moitos aleihem. And then he says also at the end, v'chein, kishezochar b'divrei hayomim, chalukas hakohanim li'arbo'o v'esr mishmoros, v'oma achazeh, after the chalukas mishmoros of Kohanim, it says, Eile pekudosom, la'avoidosam lovoi lebeis Hashem, kemishpotom, bi'ad Aaron avim, kashetzivohu Hashem Elokei Yisrael. Okay, so it says, kashetzivohu Havaya Elokei Yisrael. And then the Ram says, Ubiru Chachomim, Shehu, Roime is a very strange word. Roime is or Meire. Maybe that's a better translation of the Arabic. Liyos, Shakohanim Tia Avoidosam, Loses Es Ha'aron Al HaKotef, V'zehu Kashet Tzivo Hashem Elokei Yisrael. V'loshin Sefri, Kemishpotom, Kashet Tzivo Hashem Elokei Yisrael, Heichon Tzivo, Ulevnei Kohos Loinosan, Ki Avodas HaKodesh Aleim B'Kotev Yisrael. That's all very nice. And it's a Mefush Sefri. That is a tzivui. Okay. Now, but the Ram is doing a second thing over here. Because not only, so that takes care of problem number one, okay? Is it a story or is it sipur? Okay. The question is, who is the tztave? Who is the tzibur on? So here is interesting. You see, in Divrei Hayomim, we don't know anything. In this pasuk, the first pasuk that he quotes, in Divrei Hayomim Aleph, where it says, Ukeshetzivo David lo says es olam b'pam hashniya Oma b'divrei hayomim vayisu b'nei haLevim es Aroin hu Elokim כשציווה מוישה בדבר השם בכסף וממוטס עליהם. So we know that it's Bnei HaLevim, but from the pasuk itself, we have no clue who they are, these Bnei HaLevim. And the Rambam's mashma that we know this Kohanim, we don't know how he does that. He says before that, it says, "V'hem yisu, v'hem haKohanim chayov mitzvazu, omnu l'deres haKohanim chayav mitzvazu, v'hem yisu, k'mo she'izboyer v'sefer Yoshua u'b'sefer Shmuel." Okay. Ukishetziva losei sa'olam b'pam ha'shenis oma b'divrei hayomim vayisu b'nei haLevim es aloinu elokim kashetziva Moshe b'dvar Hashem b'ksef u'motes Yisrael motes aleim b'motes aleim. See here, frankly, when you read the Rambam, you get the impression more so that he's proving Kohanim, not proving the tzibur, even though it's obvious from the pasuk and the Sifri that there is a tzibur, and it's not a sipur. But the Rambam doesn't seem to be addressing that. He wants to prove that it's Kohanim. But the first proof is very poor. Because V'yisu b'nei HaLevim, there are Chavdal Mekoimos that Chazal say, but they don't tell you where the Chavdal Mekoimos are, that Kohanim are called Levim. But we don't know this is one of the Chavdal Mekoimos. So we don't know who it is. It is true from the second proof, B'divrei Hayomim, Chalukas HaKohanim le'abo v'yesem mishmoros v'yom ha'achazeh ele pkudosam le'avoidosam lovo lebeis Hashem k'mishpotam biyad Aaron Aviyim kasher tzivo Hashem Elokei Yisrael. This is certainly referring to Aaron, and the Sifri says, "Oh, that's chat in Bakot of Yisrael." So here he has a clear proof that the mitzvah is Kohanim, and this l'chayr is his best proof. This, I just want to say something. And I'm not going to say anything more about it. The Ramban is questioning the Rambam. How is it possible that the mitzvah was nishtana? That's his big question. How is it possible? And we have a general klal in Torah that a mitzvah is not nishtana. Okay, excellent. So I would ask the Ramban, when it says Vayisu b'nei HaLevim, does it mean any Levi, or one would have to be a part of the Bnei Kos? There's Bnei Kos, there's Bnei Gershon, Bnei Merari. And the tzivui in the Torah, if they calling it a tzivui, about Kotev Yisrael, was formulated by Kahos. So is the Ramban going to say that l'deires, we don't find that Masa Orin has to be dafka by a Levi who's Bnei Kahos? So you don't know, the Ramban doesn't talk about this. You see, according to the Rambam, You could have said, but it's not true. You could have said that the pshat is the Kohanim also b'nei Kohos, but we're just limiting the b'nei Kohos, and which was all b'nei Kohos originally, and it was limited to the Kohanim b'nei Kohos. Well, that's what we have. Ches. Okay, so this is what we have here. Let's see. So it is true that the Sifri is the Sifri and the Pesukim of Divrei Yom are clear proof that there's a tzivui, and the tzivui is not l'shah. The two things, because the tzivui is it's David told them kasher tziva Hashem es Moshe. So it means even at the time of David, this tzivui was extant. And then the Sifri says, which Ram is quoting, is Kohanim, clearly. And in the Pesukim of Divrei Yom, we only know there might be B'nai Leviim. So, the Ram's Loshen in here is the Abpishizat Sivui Bol Leviim Beisahi, Omnom Hoye Lemiut Misbar Kohanim Bizmanahu. Ki Aaron Hu Orosh. And you have to, Aaron is very strange, Aaron Hu Orosh. So, what it means, Aaron Hu Orosh, that all the Kohanim start with Aaron, and you have to be a descendant of Aaron. And there were not many descendants of Aaron at that time. Because that's what he's trying to say. There weren't many Kohanim. There's only Aaron, Nadav Avihu, Elazar V'Samo. And they're descendants of Nadav Avihu or Elazar V'Samo. They weren't ready at that time to be involved in Masos. He really didn't have enough. So that's what he's trying to say. On the Deires Chayov Mitzvah, V'heim Yisou Kmo She'izboyer V'Sefer Yoshua B'Sefer Shmuel. Okay. Before, okay, let's go to the next part, okay? So really, so that's the question is, how do we know it's a mitzvah? And then how do you know it's l'deiros? L'chleira, you also know it from the Sifri, and we know from the Pasuk in Divrei Yomim. But even more than that, there's another Sifri in Nosoi Piska Memvov, V'bnei Kohos Loinosan K'avodas HaKodesh Aleim B'kotev Yisrael. Rabbi Nosson Oimer Mikan, if it's Mikan Shnis'al Me'enei David Shelo Nosu Leviim Es HaArón Elo Ba'agolo Shenema V'yakivu Es Aloinu Elokim El Agola Chadosha. And the Gemara Tzeit and Lamed Hem and Aleph Oma Lo HaKodesh Baruch Hu Divrei Torah Shekosav Behen Hatif Einecha Boy V'einenu. He listened, he forgot something. That's very clear. Ata kori oisan zmirais, hareini machshilcho bedovo shafilu tinoikes shel beis rabon yoidin oisai. Tichsiv v'mei kohos loinosan ki avodas hakodesh aleim bakol v'iu aise be'agalta. And even the tinoikes shel beis rabon know that you're supposed to carry bakote. So what did the tinoikes shel beis rabon the time of David? So it means it's not a hirah at the time of Midbar, but it's a Rosh Hashanah. Bakotev so. And therefore you have to learn it as a mitzvah nifredes. So it's not only the Sifri and the Pasuk Divayom, you have also other Makoyos in Chazal. So when it says before v'afal pi shezeh atzivui bo laLevim beis hahi, when's beis hahi? That's in the second year in the midbar, before Nesias, before they started with the machnes. So it was very early, and there were no kohanim. There was only Aaron and his children. So therefore, the mitzvah was Levim. That's what Ram says. Now, let's just get to this point now. Let's go further on. I just want to go. I just want to read the end again and just to point out something else. Ukishetzivu David lo seisa Aron bepam hashniya. It was the time after the Agolis, and that was where it was all messed up. But when he tried to fix things up, Oma b'divrei hayomim vayisu b'nei haLevim es Aron Elokim kashetzivo Moshe b'dvar Hashem b'kseifom b'motis aleim. So I'm not sure. So it says, "Vayisu b'nei haLevim es Aron Elokim kashetzivo Moshe dvar Hashem." So it means not only dvar Hashem goes on b'kseifim b'motis aleim, but it's going to b'nei Levim. We have to know who they are. But it's very clear that it's tzivui on Levim or on Kohanim, wherever they are, b'dvar Hashem. V'chein כשזוכה בדברי היומים, הכהנים ליארבו ויעשם משמורס, ויאמר אח הזה, אלה פקודוסם לעבודוסם, לא בוי בייס השם כמשפוטם ביד אהרון אביהם כאשר ציווהו השם אלוקי ישראל. I'm reading Kashet Tzivo because that's where we have the posuk, and the difference of Kisvei Yad and Ram, whether it should be Tzivo or Tzivo, whatever. But these psukim are talking about Choftal and Mishmoris. See here, you have a very perplexing issue. The perplexing issue is the following. It's like this. There is this Sifri is the gears of the Ram, the Sifri. You have to go back in Sifri. The Goyen is a different gears, which I think we mentioned when we learned in Mitzvah Mishmoris. But the amazing thing over here is, I think I would have said, or anyone would have said, that the issue of Masa Oren and the issue of Mishmoris have nothing to do with each other. The issue of Mishmoris is about Avodah Beis Hamikdash and Chalukas Avodah. Levad mimikol of all always. Mitzvah lamivov. That's what we did. The mitzvah Masa Oren. Any Kohen or any Levi could do it. That there's the din Mishmoris was said. Legabe Nesias Oren, that you can put the two things together and say, Liois HaKohanim, excuse me, sorry. Yeah. It says, V'chein kishezochar b'divrei hayomim, divrei hayom aleph, perich of dalet, chalukas hakohanim li'arbo v'yesu mishmoros, v'oma achar kach, achazeh, ele pkudosom la'avodosom. There's a pkuda, or the counting and giving a minui, the base, or giving telling them to do something. Lovo the base Hashem kemishpotam. It's coming to service in the base of English. Lovo base Hashem. Biyad Aaron Aviyim. Kashet Tzivo Hashem Elokei Yisrael. So it says, the mishpotam v'chulei, kashet tzivo Hashem Elokei Yisrael, heichon tzivo, v'neiko hoslo inosen ke'avodas hakodesh aleim ha'bakotim yisol. So it means, it's an amazing thing. No one would have said such a thing, that Masa Oren has to do with Chalukas Mishmoros? I don't know. I find that very difficult. So, since, the Ram quotes Sifri, we have to see and talk about, that the other Gisos, the other thing, but the Ram takes the Sifri the way he has it, doesn't ask any questions, and takes it as a given. And the whole idea of Mishmos is only said Nabulis Kobonis, as the Ram says in Mishnah Torah. In Huchais Klei Mikdash V'Avodah, v'avoida boy, v'oibdim boy, perek dal aloch aleph and gimel. And since the siyas ha'aron has nothing to do with akovas korbanos, l'chayz nothing to do with mishmaros. So we don't. The whole thing is a little bit. The pashtuts are very odd. Okay. Now, next, okay, and this is another interesting point, and then we can move on to something. We basically are faced with the fact that the pashtus in the Psuki HaTorah, Bakotef Yisol, is a story. And it's clear in Divrei Hayomim, Kashet Tzivah Hashem es Moshe. That's even without the Sifri, you have Kashet Tzivah Hashem as Levim, Kashet Tzivah Hashem es Moshe. Or we have it also in the Sifri, correct? So we all were brought up, and that's the Chazal, that Eila Mitzvos, Melamed Shein Nova Yashoy L'Chadish Dova. Nevi'im are not allowed to change mitzvahs, to modify things. The Torah was given by Moshe Rabbeinu. So how is it, it's a very big problem, how is it that the Psukim in Divrei Hayomim could tell you that that which appears to be a story, Bakotef Yisol, that the Levim, the Bnei Kohos, instead of just a story that they happen to carry Bakotef, that the Tzivu Hashem that they should carry Bakotef, how did that happen? It is true, comes the Rambam says, but you don't even know he's proving it from that. But it's certainly a proof anyway. The Rambam, you don't know if he's proving Kohanim as opposed to Levim. We don't know what the proof is in the first case, Divrei. Or he's proving also that it's a mitzvah as opposed to a sipur. Or he's proving also that it's a l'deres instead of a shah. Whatever it is, the question, how does it happen? A posuk in Tanakh cannot be a way to reinterpret Torah. So, what you have to do is Yecheskel ben Buzi, the Gemara Tainis on Yud Zayin. Yecheskel ben Buzi lo, Moshe Rabbeinu lo, Yecheskel ben Buzi minayin, because the Chor is based on the klal of Ein Nov V'Shor Chadash Dovo. So it must be Kach Kibul Ish Mipish, Halacha Moshe Misinai, that whatever the Halacha Moshe Misinai there, the Gemara Tainis, whatever it is, okay. But here, that will not suffice. Because since the Pshuto Shel Mikra, is a story, we know from Sherish Beis that mitzvahs are Torah Shebiksav. You give me this, also not good enough. And also, Halacha Moshe is not good enough. So if there's just Stam, all it is Halacha Moshe Sinai, we don't have a mitzvah over here. But you can't have Halacha Moshe Sinai saying there's a tzivui So you can have. So what's that? Well, let's go back. When it says kasher, he says biva yomim vayisu b'nei haLevim es haroinu Elokim kasher tziva Moshe kidvar Hashem b'dvar Hashem. So Moshe was mitzaveh b'dvar Hashem b'ksefim. So it's a dvar Hashem, right? It's not l'chira to say it's a lochel Sinai. There's no. It's not a dvar Hashem. A dvar Hashem l'chira is in the nevuos Moshe Rabbeinu that should be done. So l'chira what you have to do. The question how you do it is that ki'ilu you see from over here that you have to interpret the psukim in the Torah b'kotev yisol. There's a tzivui, even though the pasuk seems to be a story. So the next question one should ask. So l'chera, what you want to do is say that the pasuk in Divrei Yomim and maybe the Sifri also kasher tziva Hashem es Moshe. Tzivo Hashem Elokei Yisrael, that the psukim, it's an amazing thing, that this pasuk in Divrei Yomim is telling you a pirush mekubal that the pasuk in Bakotev Yisrael is not just a sipur dvarim as it seems the pshuto shamikra, but there's also a tzivui Bakotev Yisrael. Okay. That's all very nice. The problem with that is, and that's what we should do. I don't see any way out of it. If there's no pirush makubal, you can't. Halacha Mishsinai wouldn't help. You see, halacha Mishsinai, we said at Biskarov that the Yud Gimel Midas could expand the mitzvah. That's only if you have a mitzvah it can expand it. Here, there's no mitzvah. The mitzvah exists only as much. And Shurish Ches, that the Bakotev Yisrael is not a sipur dvarim, but it's a tzivui. And without the tzivui, you have nothing. So the halacha Mishsinai can't make the mitzvah. It can only maybe expand it. So that l'cheira is what we have. The problem only is that if you recall, the question is, the Ram says in Pirush HaMishnah, like this, in Nagdomo, he says that the difference between halacha Moshe, which is pure, unadulterated Torah Shebal Peh, to pirush makubal, is there's some type of horah in the pasuk to tell you that that's so. The question is here we have a Mesorah, and it's clear from the Mesorah that says it's tzivui b'dvar Hashem that that's the pshat in the pasuk. We don't know how you do it because there has to be a remez in Torah that there's such a kabbalah. We don't know how it happens, and we don't know that a pasuk in Divrei Yomim is genug to tell you such a thing. Okay, that is okay. Now next, okay, that I think is a reasonable question. Now, what's one thing here? Okay, let's do this. Yeah. Question is, the Rambam says that this mitzvah was originally in Levium. And he says a reason that since there weren't that many Kohanim, so originally it was Levium and then it became Kohanim. But Lamaisa is the Shinui in the mitzvah. And we can't have a Shinui in mitzvahs. Kenegi say they're das. As the Ram says in Pirush HaMishnah, in the Pirush HaMishnah, in Perek Yud, Mishnah Aleph, what we call the Animam Midikri Das, the Yisod HaTshi'i, Habito, Vuhu, Shezo, HaTeras Moshe, Lo Tisbatel, Lo Tovoi Tera, Me'es Hashem Zulosa. There's no other Tera. V'lo Yitesef, Bo, V'lo Yigra Mimeno. Lo Bekosuv, V'lo Beperish. Not even a Perish. It's all Moshe Rabbeinu. So you have to say that it was said to Moshe Rabbeinu, not the Ramban Esses Kash, that there is going to come a time that the mitzvah will mishtane. And that was the Kabbalah. Kach nitna Torah. And we have other examples of this. For example, the mitzvah Milah, L'chatchila was given without priya, without chiyuv priya. And at the time of Yeshua, there became a chiyuv priya. That's the Gemara in Yevamah says, an ayin aleph amid beis. Omar Rabbo, Bar Yitzchok, Omar Rav, lo nitno priyas mila, li Avrom Ovinu, shenem boeis ahi, Omar Hashem el Yeshua, Aseh lecho chavos tzurim. And the Ritva says, V'kosher, or meaning, the Gemara Shabbos Kufdal and Aleph, Eila mitzvahs, she'ein hanovi l'ashoy l'chadish dova me'ato. Oh, he just quotes Eila mitzvahs, but that's what he means. V'yesh loima zok the Ritva, the Chaygavno, shuhu, the Kaigavna Shuhu Hechshe Mitzvah Lo Choshev Chidush, which we have to see what that means. Okay. Va'anochein ki Moshe Rabbeinu nitztave sheyasu kein kishikonsu loretz v'nigmar adovo al yidei Yeshua. So kach nit netera, that the mitzvah will change and will expand in when they get to Eretz Yisrael through Yeshua. The ksav of a Sefer Torah is nishtane. Miksav ivri, the ksav ashuri. It's a difference in the way the Torah is written. The Gemara Sanhedrin says, Chafal and Beis, Omar Mazutra, Vitema Ma'ukva, Betchila, Nitna Torah Yisrael, B'ksav Ivri, V'loshen HaKodesh, Chozer v'nitna lehem b'mei Ezra B'ksav Ashuris, V'loshen Arami. Biru lohen liYisrael ksav ashuris v'loshen hakodesh v'inichu le'edyotes ksav ivris v'loshen arami. Something changed. Man hedyotes omrav chista kusoi. So the kusim had ksav ivri, and the others had ksav ashuri. And Rashi on Chav Beis Amud Aleph in Sanhedrin, Tira Masro, es Mishnah Torah, Ramaz Lonu Moshe, Mishnah HaTorah, Ramaz Moshe Rabbeinu, Shekosav Shebiyomov, Osi Leshtanois Min Ivri La'ashuris, Shenosan Lehem Bimei Doniel. Ubo Ezra v'kosa boy es a tobik savashuris. So there's a remes in Moshe, Torah's Moshe. Rashi says, oh, that. It was nitten l'shtanis. And we also find this in the Ram Sefer HaMitzvos and another place, in Mitzvah Chof, in the Mitzvah of Binyan Beis HaMikdash. The Mizbeach HaChitzoin is a chelik of the Mitzvah's Binyan HaMikdash. And in Midbar, it was Matulto, and it was Shel Nechoshes. Ulederes, Mitzvah Binyan HaMikdash, it requires Mizbeach Abonim, Mechubal HaKalka. And that's what he writes. He should tzivonu livnois beis avoida. V'chule. V'omo yis'ale v'yoseli mikdosh. V'chule. Ukva bi'alnu in Shiur Beis, the Rambam, b'zeh aklal hu koilo chalokim u'shameneira v'ashulchan v'hamizbeach v'zulosam kulam hein chalkei hamikdosh. Okay, Mizbeach is also part of Chalkei. V'akoi koi mikdosh, omnom v'chulei, omnom omu b'mizbeach mizbach adomo ta'aseli sheyichoshev ba'kosuv hazeh shu mitzvah b'fnei atzmo shu mimitzvahs hamikdosh, because the original there's a separate mitzvah of building a mizbeach which is mechubal karka, mizbeach adoma, or a cow which is karka, not mechubal karka. She choshev because of hazeh shu mitzvah b'fnei atzmo mizbeach adoma ta'aseli v'chulei ukvar omu aleim hasholem ki inyan zehu shetzivu livnois mizbeach שיהיה מחובר בארץ, ושלא יהיה נתח ומטולטל, כמו שהויה במדבר. So it means the mitzvah changes, that the mitzvah of the deires is to build the mizbeach מחובר לקרקע. Okay. Let me just tell you like this. I think I'll leave this over there. The big problem over here, and this is going to be the challenge over here. See, Mishnah Torah is no challenge. I mean, past this, because we took care of pretty much all the problems. But the Ram over here says the mitzvah is kohanim, which he doesn't do. In Mishnah Torah, he doesn't do it in the Minyan Mitzvah Kotzer, and doesn't do it in the Protei Mitzvah. It's only over here. So he says, and this is going to be a challenge, he opens up Tanakh, and he says, you know what? I'm not giving you any source whatsoever. However, take a look in Sefer Yeshua and Sefer Shmuel, and it'll be pretty clear to you that the mitzvah is Kohanim L'Deris. And the challenge will be, and that Mitzvah Shem will pick up next. We have to go through the psukim in Yeshua one at a time, Bli Neder, and the psukim in Shmuel, and see, what he's driving at. And to add insult to injury, the Gemara says in Sefer, Allah Gimel Beis, that begim Makaymois, that the Kohanim will not say the Aron. And in Shavos Hayalde, when they went around Yericho, and Kishirziu Makaymois. But the Pashto Gemara is, it was only those three places, and not any other place. The Ram says, no, the mitzvah is Kohanim. So Adarabah, Mishnah Torah is beautiful, because only given Makom is Kohanim, but there's no dinim. The Ram seems to say that you can open up, you don't have to open the Gemara. The Ram says open up Sefer Yeshua and Sefer Shmuel, and you have all the answers. So Mitzvah Hashem, we'll pick this up next week. There's no reason to start now. Okay, Batzlocha.